All right, today we're going to dive into something, well, it's a theory that sounds almost too simple, but it has the power to completely free you from all that drama, that judgment, and, that constant stress of trying to control every little thing.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to control everything? Like, you're convinced you know what's best, and you're trying to manage every single detail. And what happens? It just spirals into more chaos, more anxiety. Yeah, I think we've all been there, right?
Well, for the author Mel Robbins, the light bulb moment for this whole idea came, of all places, during one of the most stressful events any parent has to go through.
You heard that right. This whole thing, this huge revelation, it all started at a high school prom. And not just any prom. We're talking a chaotic, last-minute, rain-soaked disaster of a prom.
Okay, so you gotta picture this. Her son, Oakley, decides he's gonna go to prom at the very last second. So it's a mad dash for a tuxedo. He manages to get a date like 48 hours before the thing. That beautiful corsage Mel ordered for his date? Nope, he flat out rejected it. Oh, and there's absolutely no dinner reservation for his group of 20 kids. And to top it all off, just as they're trying to take pictures, the sky just opens up and it starts pouring rain. I mean, what a nightmare.
And you can imagine, right? At every single turn, Mel's instinct is to just jump in and fix it. But she just keeps hitting a wall. The whole corsage thing is a perfect example. She thoughtfully bought it, and her son's reaction was just, nope, a hard teenage boundary that she was just not getting through.
And then you get the moment of absolute peak parental anxiety. She overhears the plan, all 20 kids dressed to the nines in their tuxes and dresses, getting soaked to the bone in this downpour, and their plan is to have their big pre-prom dinner at a tiny little taco bar that can barely squeeze in 10 people. You can just feel her impulse to take over, right? It's gotta be overwhelming.
So there she is, frantically scrolling through her phone, trying to find a restaurant reservation for 20 people at the last minute. And that's when her daughter, Kendall, grabs her arm, looks her right in the eye, and says the two words that changed everything. She says, "Mom, if Oakley and his friends want to go to a taco bar for pre-prom, let them. Let them get soaked. Let their sneakers get ruined. It's their prom, Mom, not yours. Just let them." And that right there, that moment of pure clarity, that's where the let them theory was born. It's such a simple phrase, isn't it? But man, it unlocks a totally profound shift in how you see things. So, what is it really? The let them theory is all about making a conscious choice to stop pouring your precious energy into things you absolutely cannot control. Your friends don't invite you on that trip? Let them. Somebody has a negative opinion of you? You know what? Let them. It's about you stopping the attempt to manage their reality.
Think of it like a seesaw. When you let their actions get to you, when you internalize it, you take on all that heavy stuff. The jealousy, the insecurity, the feeling of rejection, and your side of the seesaw just sinks. But the second you say, let them, it's like you're pushing off the ground. You rise up, you get balanced again, and you're the one back in control of yourself.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but it brings up a really important question, right? If letting go is so freeing, why is our default setting, our first instinct, always to just grab on even tighter? Why do we have this compulsive need to control everything around us?
Well, the answer is pretty clear. This urge to control, it's not some kind of personality flaw. It's actually a survival instinct. It's literally hardwired into our brains, and it all comes from one deep primal place: fear.
So, what are we so afraid of? It's the fear of being excluded, the fear of not being liked. The terror that if we're not the ones steering the ship, the whole thing is just gonna fall apart. I mean, think about the last time you micromanaged a group project. Was it really just about getting a good grade? Or was there a deeper fear that you might let your teammates down or that they'd mess it up?
And this is where we get to the great paradox of it all. We try to control things to reduce our anxiety, but it actually does the complete opposite. The more you fight to manage things you can't control, the more stressed out and powerless you end up feeling. It's a vicious cycle.
But here's the thing. This theory isn't just about being passive and letting life happen to you. Not at all. There's a second part to this whole equation, and this is the really empowering part. See, it's a really simple two-step process. Part 1 is let them. That's when you release your grip on other people. Part 2 is let me. And that's where you take all that energy you just freed up and use it to grab the steering wheel of your own life.
So, instead of spinning out, wondering why your friends didn't call, you shift and say, okay, let me be more proactive about reaching out to people. Instead of getting furious that your boss overlooked you for a promotion, you say, let me take responsibility for my own career path. See? It's an active, super powerful shift in focus.
And when you put those two halves together, let them and let me, what you end up with is a really simple but totally profound framework for finding personal freedom.
And let's be super clear, this is not about giving up. It's not about becoming a doormat. It's about being smart and redirecting your time and your energy to the one thing you actually can control, yourself.
Like Mel Robbins says, so many of us are just trapped in this exhausting, endless cycle of chasing approval from other people. The let them theory, it's basically your official permission slip to finally break free from that.
So here it is, the bottom line. You can't control them. You will never, ever be able to control what other people think or what they do or what they say. But you always, and I mean always, have control over you. So the real question is, what are you going to do with that power?